In the jungle, there are so many different things that could kill you. Wild boars, a friggin' panther. Or if you're very unlucky, you get bitten by a venomous snake and die a slow and painful, agonizing death. So to help everyone out, we've made a list of some pretty terrifying snakes so you can identify them. From 30-foot snakes to snakes that will literally make your blood boil, here are 15 terrifying snakes that will probably kill you. Number 15, pythons. Now, you want to talk about snakes that could kill you in a second, you can't do that without talking about the python. The python family of snakes are known to be some of the strongest and most aggressive in the world, native to sub-Saharan Africa and from India to southern China into Southeast Asia. These snakes can grow up to 31.5 feet long. Pythons mostly hang out on the ground, but some subspecies have been known to stay in the trees. While on the ground, though, they favor areas with water and even spend a good amount of time in the water. They're quite proficient swimmers. However, they do a majority of their hunting on land. So the next time that you're in the jungle and you feel a squishy root, it could actually be a python. When having babies, the python lays eggs, as opposed to giving live birth to a bunch of baby snakes, which would look totally like a bunch of little squirmy noodles. Maybe pretty awesome. To care for the eggs, the mother python will wrap herself around the nest in order to keep them safe and warm. Kind of like a non-deadly snake hug. Number 14, Terciopelo. Now this is also definitely a snake that you don't want to mess with. It's such an aggressive snake, in fact, that when the show Naked and Afraid was being filmed in the jungle, one of these bit one of the executive producers. The viper is one of the most dangerous snakes in existence, accounting for half of the bites in the world, and it kind of sounds like a jerk. This snake actually gets its name from the Spanish word for velvet, and they're kind of the velvet killers of the animal world. It's extremely quick to attack, can open its jaws up to 180 degrees before hitting its prey, and the fangs, well, they can't be long, can they? Well, you're dead wrong. In many literal cases, they're up to an inch long. What happens when you get bitten? Well, depending on how quickly you react and get help, the results can be anything from swelling to amputation and even death. Its hemotoxic venom spreads through cells and blood vessels and is what causes the swelling. And if left untreated, it can cause you to seize up and die. Number 13, saw-scaled vipers. I love when people name animals just the way that they think of words in order to correspond to the animal so well like this. They just look at the snake and think, saw, and poof. The snake is called saw-scaled. The saw-scaled vipers are small venomous snakes living in the deserted regions and dry savannas north of the equator across Africa, Arabia, and southwestern Asia. These snakes aren't just called saw snakes for no reason. On either side of its body, there are some scales that stick out in a serrated fashion. So when you have a closer look, it does resemble a saw pretty closely. Adult versions of these vipers can grow to be anywhere from 1 to 3 feet in length, with a pretty stout body and a cute little pear-shaped head. Now, I'm no herpetologist or anything, but 1 to 3 feet, that's gotta be kinda weak, right? Though it is still a small viper and still very venomous, so what it lacks in raw size, it definitely makes up for in killing you. Number 12, the king cobra. The name of this snake is pretty spot on. These are some of the most badass snakes in the animal kingdom, and it's the only snake that if you were to step up to it, it would, and I'm not kidding, literally stand up to you and look you right in the eye. When they're confronted, they can lift up to 1/3 of their body off the ground and still have room to come at you and attack you. Along with this, the cobras are notorious for those hoods that pop out of the side of its head when they're feeling aggressed. So fortunately for us, however, these snakes are quite shy and will avoid human contact at all costs. Their venom, it's not the strongest in the world, but the amount of neurotoxin that they can deliver in a single bite is enough to kill 20 people, or possibly an elephant. They deliver up to 0.2 of a fluid ounce in a single bite. The venom affects the respiratory centers in the brain, causing your lungs to shut down, along with a good old-fashioned heart attack. Number 11. The tiger snake. I suppose that if a tiger were to somehow magically transform into a snake, this is exactly how it would look. The tiger snake, native to areas from Victoria to Tasmania, is a fairly common snake in the country, and also one of the more aggressive ones, coming in second place for the most recorded bites. This snake comes in second in Australia not only because it's aggressive, but because the snake is attracted to and lives in some of the most very populated areas like Melbourne. It loves to hang around farms, and they love hunting mice, especially at night. So when people are out walking around, they don't really notice that there's a snake at their feet. Their venom is very poisonous and can quickly result in death if not treated in due time. The bites can cause pain in the neck along with swelling because of the blood swelling up, and if left untreated, the victim will succumb to paralysis and then death. When provoked, the snake flattens its head and strikes from a very low position, so watch yourself if you're ever visiting Australia. Number 10. Belcher's sea snake. Now, when I first read about this, the first thing that popped into my head was that this was a snake that loved to burp super loud. How hilarious would that be? But because this is a sea snake, they're not as widely encountered as some of the other ones on the list, and it also has a pretty calm temperament. I mean, you would really have to try and make it angry in order to get bitten. That being said, the venom that this snake carries is extremely poisonous. Many fishermen who have handled nets are usually the victims of snakes, but even in these instances, the snake do not actually inject much of their venom into the poor fishermen. It's quite rare that it will actually use a lot of its venom. Some people like to refer to this one as the most poisonous snake in the world, but scientists in 1996 actually disproved that statement. The claim came in about the first place because people had mistaken the Belcher sea snake for the hook-nosed sea snake, which is very similar. So like a lot of these style of mess-ups, it all comes down to mistaken identity. Number 9. The inland taipan. So people have claimed that the hook-nosed snake is the most poisonous in the world. Well, I think the inland taipan snake may have you beat. In its homeland of Australia, it's known as the fierce snake and is actually still a pretty small-sized snake, though once again, you shouldn't take size as the only factor because it's super-duper poisonous. How poisonous can one snake be, you may ask? Well, when the scientists took a sample dose from a mouse that had been killed by one and tested it on human cells, they found that there's enough venom in one inland taipan to kill 100 human beings. That's right, you heard it correct, 100 human beings. These snakes are extremely fast and agile and can strike as quick as lightning. They won't just bite once either. They've been known to strike several times, which could actually make your blood boil. Number 8. The black mamba. Now, the last snake takes the cake for most venomous, but here we've arrived at the snake that's truly the most renowned for being the deadliest in the world. These mamba jambas are fast, nervous, lethally venomous, and when threatened, highly aggressive. Black mambas have been blamed for many of deaths, and in African folklore, these snakes have been put on some pretty big pedestals, depicted as being all-powerful. And watching one in action, it's easy to see why. The black mamba does not get its name from the color or its outer skin, but rather when it opens its mouth. The whole inside of their mouth is black, which is the last thing that you see before you die. I'm just kidding. But really, the black mamba is also capable of doing the standy-uppy thing I mentioned before with the cobra. So if a mamba does this to you, you better run for your freaking life. Number 7. The eastern brown snake. There are really a lot of very deadly snakes in the wilds of Australia. It's almost like an entire continent of just snakes. I've heard that almost everything down under will try to kill you, but wow. The eastern brown snake is part of this group of things that are trying to put you down under the ground. But how? Well, this snake claims the silver medal as the second most potent venom in the world, not just in Australia, but on the entire planet. Despite all of these crazy poisonous snakes living in Australia, dying from one is actually pretty rare in the country. Now, apparently, according to statistics, more people die from honeybee stings than snake bites? I'm sure those are some hardcore honeybees though, right? I'm sure there are a ton of honeybees on farms and whatnot as well. Well, this is another snake that's frequently in highly populated areas like the suburbs, and again, farms as well. Because of this, the eastern brown snake takes the number 1 spot as the most bitey snake in Australia. Number 6. The Bushmaster. Ah, the Bushmaster. What a very cool name. The master of the bush. Kind of like the Beastmaster. Though I would stop referencing things in videos like this. What are we talking about? Oh, the Bushmaster, that's right. This snake is commonly found near the Amazon River basin in Costa Rican forests, but don't worry. They don't swim very well. And if for whatever reason you found yourself swimming in the area, you'd probably be safe. And unlike some snakes on our list, these ones ain't small, because they can grow to be anywhere from 6 to 10 feet long. To better conceal themselves along the floors of the Amazon, the outer skins are shades of brown and red. So they can sneak up and bite ya. Maybe not bite you necessarily, but if it wants to eat some frogs or something, yeah, we'll go with that. These snakes are really quite good at hiding, because they're seldom ever come across in the wild. And because of this, there's also not a whole lot of things that are known about them. But what we do know is that they're shy, obviously, and that their venom is potentially lethal. Therefore, this snake, well, it's not your friend. Number 5. The Indian Cobra. Now we have on our list a snake that's most frequently associated with snake charmers, at least in India. The Indian cobra is fairly well protected because of their great history with the culture of India by a preservation act in 1972 called the Indian Wildlife Protection Act. Despite humans trying to be cool with the Indian cobra, the cobra has still found itself on the Big Four list of snakes that can bite people the most. The Indian cobra is not the same species as the king cobra, by the way. It's found in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Bhutan. The venom is deadly for this snake. But what's actually pretty crazy about it is that when it's in its youth, the venom could actually be taken as a drug. That's right, people used to pay snake charmers to have the young Indian cobras actually bite them on the arm so they could get high. It's a super chill snake, but trippy in any case. Number 4, the rattlesnake. I don't think that the rattlesnake needs an introduction, but it is my job, so regardless of whether or not you already know about it, here I go. The rattlesnake's a snake that, to put it bluntly, literally has rattles on the tip of its tail that it begins to shake violently if it's feeling aggressed. The sound, well, it's very distinct, actually terrifying. I've seen one in real life, and they're super cool. But they aren't actually rattles, it's just the way that the end of the tail vibrates together. Anyways, the bite from a rattlesnake is really gonna hurt, but it's not that venomous, and in the end, you'll probably be okay. I mean, of course, if you're being dumb and you leave it there for a while, you're gonna die, but please don't do that. Just get to the hospital. Now, while you're on your way, you'll be experiencing internal hemorrhaging and you'll probably poop all over yourself. Of course I made that poop part up, right? Didn't I? Get bitten and find out. There are over 30 different kinds of rattlesnakes in the world, and the way that you can tell it's a rattlesnake and not some other cool snake is, like I said, it rattles its tail. Number 3. The Gaboon Viper. Now this is a chunky boy. These Gaboon Viper snakes can be found in the central parts of Africa and are quite timid, so there's not much to worry about in the way of getting randomly attacked by one of them. Though again, be careful not to judge a book by its cover, because although these snakes are very girthy, they also take the top prize not for venom or deadliness, but for the raw speed that they can attack with. When they're not attacking people, or their dinner for that matter, these snakes are very placid and slow moving, and the speed of their attacks actually comes from their girth. When they throw their weight around into a bite, there's so much force behind it that it's just super fast. Other than that, they're really lazy. You'd really have to do a lot in order to provoke this snake to bite you. Even if you were to approach its nest, which many people have done, they don't really do much. The only reports of bites from this snake have come from people who accidentally stepped on one. And like I said a trillion times during my list, watch your step. Number 2, the Russell Viper. Now, this is a snake that's like the cool guy at school that everyone totally loves. You know, Russ my man. Now, why is he such a cool guy though? Well, this snake kind of lingers, which I'll explain what I mean in a second. And as we've seen so many times on the list, venom equals bad. But most of the time people actually get cured. Not necessarily true with the Russell Viper though. After his initial bite, you're going to suffer from very typical snake bite symptoms like respiratory problems and paralysis, but even after you get a cure, there's still damage that will be done to your kidneys along with hemorrhaging that occurs throughout the body, which includes in the pituitary gland. So maybe Russell's not so cool after all. Maybe he's just a jerk. Even from 5 feet away, the Russell Viper can actually launch itself at you and get in a good chomp. And the Russell's fangs, well, they're very long, with each bite usually put in the maximum dose of venom. So here I thought we could be friends, Russell. Guess I was wrong. Number 1, the boomslang snake. Now, this is not an official number 1 thing. It's just me saying this, but this snake is the most terrifying one on the list. And it isn't because of how it looks, it's actually kind of adorable. No, it's what this snake's venom does to you that's so terrifying. So before I tell you that, here's a little story. Way back in the old ages of 1957, Carl P. Schmidt thought that this little green guy was just a harmless snake, but dear Lord was he wrong. While out in the forest, he was bitten on the thumb by one of them, but because nobody had thought that it was venomous, they didn't do anything. In only one day, he then died of a brain hemorrhage and respiratory failure, but not just any kind. This snake's venom is hemotoxic, and that means that it stops red blood cells. It also means that you're gonna bleed out of every orifice until you die, like your nose, your eyes, and your mouth. And your body, it essentially becomes liquefied, kind of like Ebola. You'll actually bleed mercilessly from the inside. That is, until your body turns almost completely blue and then you die. The end.